Hello, my name is Vincent Punt, Vice President of Laws Online, the national database of legal professionals. In this video, we're going to look at the quick and easy process to fill out a will questionnaire. Now, this isn't legal advice. We always recommend that you get local. That means you get to your local attorney and you ask them to help you in your will creation process. The reason we recommend your local attorney in creating a will is you want it done correctly. Those wills that are not done correctly have a tendency to cause problems. One of the problems is you don't have a will when you pass on. There is no control of where your property is distributed. Your property may be distributed to a long-lost relative or a bum family member who you had no intention of giving any property to, but the state uses an inheritance based on your relations, not your friends. The other problem with not creating a will or not having it done properly is there's no control over who's going to administer your estate. When you pass, the state that you live in, the government, will decide who's going to be in charge of distributing your property. Not you, because you decided not to do a will. That's why it's so important to not only create a will, but have a local legal professional help you with the creation of that will. The very first thing is the testator contact information. The testator is you, the author of the will. It's a fancy way of saying who's the author of this will, the testator. And in this case, we're going to put the individual, their address. You'd put your address in there. Now, the phone and email are for contact information for the law firm that's creating the will. Next is, are you married or not? This is important because if you're married, your spouse will most likely be the primary beneficiary if you pass before your spouse. After your spouse section, there is a part for children. If you have children, mark yes and put their names under beneficiaries. When you're creating your will with your legal professional, this is a great time to ask the following questions. First of all, have you created a past will or made a codicil to that will? You want to have this will replace it. You cannot have two wills exist at the same time. If you can't remember, say no. So when you create a new will, it will be the primary will. All other wills before that will be extinguished. Next, you have the option to do a living will. It's more cost effective to do these things all together. Next, you want to probably create a power of attorney. Now is a good time to do the power of attorney because this is something you can use in case you're incapacitated or a severe illness happens. Finally, you can ask if you need a trust. If you wish to have a trust, this is a great time to set that up. We'd ask if you have pets. And if you do have pets, you could look into a pet trust. The second part, the executor. Who's the executor? The executor is the person who's going to administer your estate when you pass on. This is the party who's going to decide the distribution of property. You would probably, if you're married, put the very first executor is going to be your spouse. You can also put in a other third-party person who's not related. You may want to have a third executor, and there's an attachment to this questionnaire that you can add a third executor. Always have a backup plan in case something happens to the executor you have named. Next, beneficiaries. Beneficiaries are the people who are going to receive the properties that you're distributing through your will. Beneficiaries don't necessarily have to be related, but they are the parties who are benefiting from your will, who are receiving property from the will. Here, we're going to name the beneficiaries of this will. Next, it's important in your will to identify real property. Real property is your homes, real estate, land. Next, vehicles owned. These could be important to determining for your beneficiaries. If you have additional vehicles, you can add that to the back. 6, stocks, bonds, insurance policies, retirement programs. Finally, you're going to take a look at collectibles. These are personal properties that might be a coin collection, stamp collection. And that's what really this will preparation questionnaire is to identify what assets you have in your estate so that they can be easily distributed. That's primarily it. If you look at your attachments, there's additional notes on how you wish to have this property distributed. And have a document ready to go when you talk to your legal professional.